Hello YouTube, in this video I'm going to show off my collection of interesting and unusual pocket knives. I picked up most of these because there's some unique feature about them that you don't see in most pocket knives. This one is a Columbia River knife and tool hole-in-one knife. This ended up being my daily knife at work. When I first bought it I didn't think it would actually be very useful. But with the built-in carabiner bottle opener and being able to open and close it with one hand, it ended up being a pretty good knife at work. This one I bought mostly because of the handle. I really like the design and how you can see the grain in those holes that are drilled in it. I also bought it because it's very easy to open. It's a one-handed liner lock. It just flips open like that. For the most part, I just use it to open boxes and those hard plastic packages that electronics come in. This is a Victorinox Huntsman Swiss Army knife. I received this as a gift from work because I've been with the same company for 5 years now. It's still got the toothpick and the tweezers in it because I don't use this very often. I'm not so much a fan of multi-tools and Swiss Army knives. It's got all the standard tools that you'd find in a regular Swiss Army knife. 2 blades, scissors, there's a bottle opener, there's a saw in there somewhere. They're all pretty stiff to open because I really haven't used this very much. So here's the other multi-tool I have. It's a world famous brand. It's got a big heavy set of pliers, which is nice. Most multi-tools, the pliers are a little flimsy. You can't really grip too hard with them. These ones are one of the toughest set of multi-tool pliers I've seen. I just got this a few days ago. This is my favorite blade, just the material of it, and that's the primary reason I bought it. This is a Damascus type steel blade. I'm going to put my magnifying lens on so you can see it close up. You can see the fingerprint kind of swirls in this steel. It's made by layering 2 different types of steel and then folding them over and hammering together over and over until you get dozens or hundreds of layers. Once you start grinding the blade into its final shape, you see the layers start to get exposed one at a time, and it gives you that neat wood grain fingerprint kind of look. Here's another one that I bought pretty much only because of the handle. It was in the bargain bin. I think it cost $6.50, so I didn't mind spending that on a knife I'd never use. The handle material is I think it's a steel or aluminum piece with a light paint underneath and then a darker paint put on top with a pretty interesting crackled effect. This is probably the most dangerous pocket knife I've ever seen, not because it's spring-loaded or because it's incredibly sharp, but because of the opening mechanism. There's a little lock on the back, and you fold the handle together and the blade comes out of the handle. I've never bothered to try and use this at work or keep it as a daily use knife because that folding mechanism is just too easy to cut your finger on. This one is probably the second most dangerous folding mechanism I've ever seen. I'm not really sure how to even describe it. Kind of like a scissor action. It does have a spring in it that keeps it open, but it doesn't make it spring open. The other thing it does is make it spring shut, which is where this knife becomes dangerous. If you close it about halfway and let go, that blade will spring shut, and it spring shuts pretty hard. This is a Bokor Knockoff knife. It's not a real Bokor, but a clone. Came from China. It cost about $6, so I didn't mind getting it. It fits in your hand pretty nicely. There's a big area to put your thumb on if you need to get a little leverage. It's not too useful as a daily knife though, because it doesn't have a pocket clip and it doesn't fold. You have to keep it on that holster on your belt. This is kind of a unique knife that I got from a Chinese website. I haven't seen any other knives similar to this one. It's a fixed blade dagger, but it has a two-piece sheath that's attached to the handle, and when you swing it around, there's four metric wrenches and a bottle opener on the back of the blade. This is a Smith & Wesson Powerglide. It has a pantograph folding mechanism. This is the only pantograph knife that I could find for sale in Canada anyway. There were a few others that were pretty low quality that were available in the US. There's a pretty interesting mechanism. The two smaller arms that attach to the blade are geared, and there is also gears on the top of the handle to make sure everything works smoothly. This is a Japanese carpenter's knife. It has a brass handle, just a U-shaped piece of brass, and a carbon steel blade. The difference between this blade and stainless steel blades is this one has to be cleaned and oiled, otherwise it'll rust when exposed to moisture and dirt. This is probably the sharpest knife I own. None of the other pocket knives can hold an edge as well as this one can. This used to be my everyday carry knife. I got this one because of the interesting handle. There's loads and loads of liner lock knives like this out there, but I haven't seen very many that have that stainless steel two-piece wood handle on the side. Most of them just has one piece of wood with stainless at either end. This is the first knife I ever owned. This was my Scout's knife, and it's lasted quite a while. The blade doesn't really hold an edge very well, but it's got a pretty stiff back lock. If you're looking for a knife for your kids and Scouts, this is what you'd be looking for. They're not very expensive, and because it takes two hands to open and close them, they're reasonably safe. This is the only knife I've bought that I didn't pick. I had ordered a different knife, but it was out of stock, and the company I ordered from just picked one at random and sent it to me. So when I opened it up, it was a bit of a surprise. It's a Smith & Wesson clone, but I can't figure out what model it's supposed to be cloning. It has an unusual kind of a grainy texture on the handle and the blade. For the $6 that I spent on this, I'm not really upset that I didn't get the one I was looking for.